Well, folks, I'm here with Luther Brewer, and Luther, I know you made the trip up here from Daytona, and we appreciate you coming up. I know it's an important night for you. You're going to be inducted into the C.A.R.B Hall of Fame 2010 class, and what I understand, you were living in Drexel, Missouri.
Yeah, I grew up there.
And you came up here for, what, the summer?
Yeah, the first year out of school, I came to Kansas City and worked, my brother and I, and we room and board out on East 16th Street Terrace, just up the hill from the Olympic Stadium. One Sunday evening, sitting out on the front porch, and I heard these race cars. So I asked the landlord about it, and he said they raced down there every Sunday night. So we went down there, walked down there, and it was that midget circuit that used to run the area, and there was Judd Larson, Vito Colina, you know, Mac McHenry, Cecil Green, Bob Slater, all those guys, Don Hohenschel. Later built a car for Don Hohenschel. Vito Colina, I got acquainted with him at Carl's Speed Shop. I bought a race parts there, and he waited on me. Judd Larson, I got acquainted with him later on. Sat at the banquet table with him at Lakeside Speedway in 63. He even sat in my car one night at Riverside. He was going to drive it. He adjusted the seat belts. Somebody came along and offered him a better ride, so he got out. So that's my claim to fame. Judd Larson sat in my car for 15 minutes.
In 1961, you do jump right into the middle of things, though, and you build your first super modified. I mean, there's nothing like starting at the top rather than working your way up. But you build a super modified, and I think this was car number 44.
Yeah, that was my driver's. We decided his wife could number it and my wife would pick the color. So my wife picked the color red. His wife, basketball suit number was 44.
44.
I fired him before the year's over, so I never used that number again.
Of course, a track that doesn't exist anymore, from what I understand, down around Paola somewhere.
Yes, it was on the airport property between Paola and Osawatomie, about halfway between there.
Okay. So we're going to move on to another car. We've got a short time. We've got a lot of cars to cover. 62, you build a car. From what I understand, kind of an unusual metal that you use in the roll cage.
Well, we built a 3-inch tube frame with struts underneath of it, and the roll cage was made out of bedsteads. And if, you know, a lot of the older people remember the old bedsteads that had around Now, a friend of mine had done that some years earlier, so that's the reason I...
You knew it would hold up. So
I knew it would hold up.
You knew the integrity was there, so you tried it again. In 64, you build what is called a CAE blueprint car. Now, for us laymen out here that don't know, what does that mean?
CAE is Colbert Automotive Engineering. They did a lot of racing parts, wheels, frames, front ends, and a lot of brakes and everything. And they had a blueprint available. So that's when I built that car. So
in other words, you just buy the blueprint as the design and go from there. 1967, this may be one of the cars that you built. I'm not sure which number it was, but this may be one of the most successful cars that you ever built.
The most successful is built it for the 66 season. It was... I made my own blueprints. I didn't tape measure Greg Wells' sprint car, but he ran one in USAC, and I think he was second in points that year. And I always wanted a really good competitive car. And so I decided to build one like that. And I went over there every week almost, and it would be sitting in the shop there on 27th Street. And I'd eyeball that thing, front axle to tie rod to radiator to engine block. I wrote all that down, what I thought it was. I made my own blueprints, and I built the car from that. And then I called George Shalala in California, and he used to build a tapered leaf front spring for all the USAC sprint cars, and it was supposed to be the best in the industry. So I called him and bought a front spring, and he gave me all the measurements on steering geometry and tread width He even sent me a legal sheet with handwritten notes and a diagram.
Wow.
So I built that car like that.
Oh, goodness
Now,
gracious.
I found out later that was called Ackerman steering,
Oh, okay.
the steering geometry.
Uh-huh.
But that car had the perfect steering geometry on it.
Yeah. This car was really, like I say, probably one of the most successful cars. Ray Lee Goodwin drove that car for you, and I believe you had track championships at Olympic, the Topeka Fairgrounds, and
Topeka twice with it.
And then you decide to sell the car, and Thad Dozier goes on to win the Knoxville Nationals.
About a month after I sold it.
Are you sorry now that you sold it?
Yeah, I wish I had put another body on. See, I was going to build a sprint car for Ray Lee. That's what I ended up doing. So I sold that to build a sprint car. Yeah.
Oh my! But this car still isn't done. Jack Cunningham has the car.
Yeah.
But then he puts Tiger Bob Williams into it.
Man.
And they go on to win 46 feature wins
1 year.
in 1 year.
And he missed 4 weeks.
And he missed 4 weeks on account of his brother passing.
Yeah.
Man, what a car. I mean, did you have any idea when you were building that car that it was going to be like that?
I knew it ought to be a front runner because of what I was doing to it. I went more than just what I told you. Even the radius rods and the rear radius rods and the torsion bar arms, I measured those distance on a parallel line, and I built the bird cages so they'd be the same distance. So if it bounced through holes, the rear end wouldn't walk. I did all kinds of things on that car.
It must have been a masterpiece of art.
Nobody knew it but me.
That's kind of bad when you got to keep that stuff kind of secret. When
nobody was interested in it.
You know, also you've had a who's who of Midwest drivers that have driven for you in the cars that you've created. If I could just list a few of them: Ray Lee Goodwin, Thad Dozier, John Backlund, Eddie Levitt, Grady Wade, Bill Covert, Dick Sutcliffe. I guess good equipment always draws good drivers.
Yeah, I had Jack Belk. He was another really good driver. In fact, his youngest son came up here tonight. He drove that CAE car for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Wes Farron drove it the first 6 months, first half of the season.
Okay.
I also had Dale Reed won 2 features for me.
Wow.
But
some good drivers, good equipment.
Yeah.
Of course, one of my big questions is Luther, where, from what I understand, for a year or so there you drove a milk truck, and then you were postmaster of what town was it?
I started in Drexel, Missouri. I ended up in Olathe, Kansas.
In Olathe.
But I spent 18 years in Olathe as postmaster.
Where or how did you learn how to do this?
Well, I was interested in cars when I was young, like 18 or 19. I had motorcycles when I was 18 till I got out of the service. I was 24. I had Harley motorcycles back then. I actually hauled milk for 8 years total. And I used to do my own points and stuff in my truck because every time I have it done, it'd come loose.
Oh, my.
So I did my own work, packed my own wheel bearings, did my own brakes, and I felt like I could maintain a race car. I did have a guy teach me to weld that was a certified pipeline welder. So he
knew how to do it.
Yeah, and he taught me all the basics of welding.
Yeah.
Then I had a brother that worked in aircraft on the West Coast for a while, and he was into that too. So he kind of helped me. So.
Self-taught, man. You gotta love that. You gotta love that. Luther, legendary may not be a big enough word to describe your work from the chassis designs that you put together, and you did all the motor work yourself.
Yeah, I did.
But this was an era when 50s, 60s, and 70s, when technical strides were really kind of going at leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
How could you keep up with all that? I mean, did you just kind of watch what was going on, or did you have ideas of your own?
Well, I kept up with it and had ideas of my own. And some of the things I did, I knew. I bought a book, an article that Smokey Unick had written.
Yeah.
And, I learned. I